I'm 90 years old, and most mornings now begin with silence. Not the peaceful kind people talk about, but the kind that reminds you how much has already left the room. I don't say that to sound sad. It's just the truth of being this old. When you reach this age, you stop thinking in years. You think in faces. In voices you haven't heard in a long time. In moments you assumed would repeat themselves, but never did. I'm telling you this because I don't have much time left to tell it. Not because I want to be remembered for it, but because I wish someone had told me the same thing when I still thought I had forever. I used to believe a meaningful life was something you built, piece by piece, with effort, with discipline, with being responsible. I was wrong about that for most of my life. Right now, I sit in a small room that once felt crowded. There are fewer chairs than there used to be. Fewer reasons to keep the lights on late. The clock still ticks, but it doesn't rush me anymore. Nothing does. At 90, you understand very clearly that time is not something you manage. It's something that quietly finishes without asking your permission. People imagine old age as a long stretch of reflection. It isn't. It's more like short, sharp realizations that arrive when you least expect them. While folding a shirt you haven't worn in years, while hearing a name you once said every day, while noticing how few people would recognize your face now if you walked down the street, you realize that most of what you thought mattered didn't, and most of what mattered you kept putting off. When I was young, I thought meaning came from being useful, from being dependable, from doing what needed to be done, even if I didn't enjoy it. Especially if I didn't enjoy it. I grew up believing that sacrifice was the same thing as love. That if you carried enough weight, if you stayed tired long enough, it would all add up to something solid in the end. So I worked. I showed up. I did what people expected of me. In my 20s and 30s, my days were full. Not with joy, but with motion. There was always somewhere to be. Always something unfinished. Always a sense that real life would begin once things settled down. They never did. I wasn't careless. I wasn't reckless. I didn't make dramatic mistakes that ruined everything overnight. That's important to say. My life didn't fall apart. It slowly drifted. I had a job that paid the bills and earned quiet approval. I had routines that made me feel necessary. I told myself that consistency was character, that stability was love. I missed dinners because I was tired. I postponed conversations because there was time later. I skipped small moments because they seemed small. I didn't think I was choosing against anyone. I thought I was choosing for the future. There were birthdays I arrived late to, school events I meant to attend but didn't, calls I saw ringing and thought, I'll return it tomorrow. Tomorrow became a habit. I remember sitting at the kitchen table one night, long after everyone had gone to bed, telling myself that this was just a phase, that once work eased up, once things were secure, I'd be more present, more relaxed, more myself. I didn't realize that later is a place many people never reach. The strange thing is, nothing felt wrong at the time. That's how life gets you. There was no alarm, no warning, no single decision I could point to and say, that's where it went off course. It was all reasonable, sensible, defensible, and that's why it cost so much. Years passed the way water passes over stone, quietly, patiently, shaping everything without being noticed. Relationships don't usually end with shouting. They end with silence, with fewer shared meals, with shorter conversations, with an unspoken understanding that you'll talk properly someday. I thought love was something that waited for you. It isn't. It needs your presence, not your intention. I remember realizing, sometime in my 50s, that my children had their own lives now, that they no longer needed me in the way they once had. I told myself that was natural, that it meant I had done my job. What I didn't see was how much ground had quietly been lost. We still spoke, We still cared, but there was a distance that hadn't been there before. A carefulness, as if we were visiting each other instead of living together. I assumed we'd grow closer again with time. Time did the opposite. The turning point didn't arrive with drama. It came with a hospital room that smelled too clean, with a voice from a doctor who avoided my eyes, with the sudden understanding that some things don't wait for readiness. Illness has a way of stripping stories down to their bones. When someone you love is gone, there's no room left for excuses, no use for explanations, no value in how busy you once were. All that remains is what you shared, and what you didn't. I remember standing at a funeral, listening to people speak about a life that felt unfinished to me, not because it lacked achievement, but because it lacked presence. I wanted to interrupt, to say, "There's more I meant to do?" More, I meant to say, but meaning doesn't care about intention. That was the moment clarity arrived. Late, sharp, unavoidable. I understood then that life doesn't measure you by what you carried. It measures you by what you gave attention to. I couldn't fix what had already passed. I couldn't reopen moments that had closed. There were apologies that landed too softly, conversations that came too late to change anything, regrets that had nowhere to go. People like to say, "It's never too late." That sounds kind, but it isn't always true. Some things are final. You don't get another childhood with your children. You don't get another chance to be fully present when someone still needs you. You don't get refunded the years you spent waiting to feel ready. At 90, you stop arguing with that. I look back now and see how small the moments were that actually mattered. A walk that never happened. A question I didn't ask. A hand I could have held longer. Meaning wasn't hiding in some grand purpose. It was asking for attention in ordinary moments. I spent too much of my life preparing for a future that arrived quietly and left quickly. If I'm honest, success didn't comfort me in the end. Responsibility didn't keep me company. Being needed by systems and schedules didn't translate into being known. What stayed with me were the few times I slowed down enough to really be there. And those moments are painfully outnumbered by the ones I postponed. Now, my world is smaller. That's not a complaint. It's just the shape of things. The phone rings less. The room stays quiet longer. My name is spoken less often than it once was. You start to realize how little of you will remain once you're gone. A few memories, mostly incomplete. A handful of objects no one quite knows what to do with. And that's when you understand what a meaningful life actually is. It isn't about being impressive. It isn't about being remembered widely. It isn't about having something to show for your years. It's about being fully there for the people who shared time with you, while they were still there to share it. If you're listening to this and you're younger than I am, I won't tell you what to do. Life doesn't listen to instructions anyway. I'll only tell you what I wish I had understood sooner. The days feel long when you're inside them. They feel impossibly short when you look back. The things you're postponing don't wait patiently. They fade. Presence is fragile. Relationships are perishable. Time doesn't store value just because you meant well. If this story sits with you for a moment, that's enough. If it makes you think of someone you haven't called, someone you keep meaning to listen to more closely, then it has done what I hoped it would. I don't have advice. I have memory. And memory is a quiet teacher. I don't know how much time I have left. Not exactly. I only know it's limited. And that knowledge makes everything very clear. I no longer chase meaning. I recognize it when it shows up. Usually quietly. Usually asking for nothing more than my attention. That's what I know now. And that's what I wish I had known when I still thought I had time subscribe.